Go ahead.
Normalize making men work for sex.
Yes.
Why are you guys so eager to give up your Gucci? For what? It's up to you to create that boundary of, I'm not going to sleep with this man right away. It's literally all in your hands. You have all the power. You have the portal of life between your legs. Act like it. Stop just giving it up because someone gave you a little bit of attention, a little compliment, and a little liquor. Do better. Want better for yourself. Let's normalize.
So I played this clip right after the previous one, the one where you made criticisms over men wanting virgins. I'm just confused here. So on one hand, you're recommending women withhold sex, wait to have sex, abstain, be celibate. You're celibate yourself, at least by your own admission. How, it seems a little like, how do you reconcile, on one hand, thinking men are P words for desiring chaste, sexually pure women, whether that means virgin or low body count, but also, so you're recommending women hold off on having sex with men, but on the same hand, it's wrong for men to desire precisely that in women. Can you reconcile that for me?
Yeah, that's really, really weird.
I just think most men, not all, but I would say most men are usually undeserving of sex.
So we'll just grant that for a second, right? We'll just grant that, yes, you think that most men are undeserving of sex. But what we're asking is, if you're recommending that women stay chaste, that they're not giving up sex to men, then their body count's necessarily going to be lower. So if that is a desire that men have to have these women with lower body counts, why would you then say that they're akin to, PDF files? Because they desire the traits that you're advocating women have.
I'm preaching about women holding out because I think if women do better, then it forces men to do better.
Well, wait, hold on. You're not really addressing the thing. So, okay. Let's say a woman is a virgin.
Okay.
Is your advice steadfast? If she's a virgin, should she also wait?
Should she also wait?
Well, you said that women shouldn't just be giving out the coochie, right? You said women should hold that shit. Like, how long are you going to wait when the next guy comes along? You said you've been celibate for 2 years, right?
Yeah, I don't have... It's not a certain amount of date rule or anything. I just think when someone shows up for you and you can see they prove themselves through their actions is when that would be a more appropriate time to have sex rather than, oh, hey, I just met you. I know nothing about you.
Yeah, that makes, so this actually makes sense. So just to clarify this, you're saying that women and their chastity, their sexuality is really valuable, right? That's a valuable thing that they hold, right?
Yes.
So
but it's
then why
not the
wouldn't
only
men?
value they hold.
I'm not saying it is, and I'm not saying you're saying it is. I'm not saying you're saying that that's the only value they hold. I'm just saying you do agree that it's a very valuable thing, right?
Yes.
So then why wouldn't men think the same thing?
I mean, I see why men would think the same thing, but I think I'm telling women to do it for themselves, not for...
Yeah, no, I get
woman.
that your
I mean,
motivation is because you think that it's empowering to women to withhold sex until it's with a partner who's worthy of sex, right?
Correct.
But that necessarily is going to mean that those women have a higher status than other women because they give out sex far less, right?
That women that hold off have higher status than women that don't, is what you're saying?
Yeah, well, yeah, as far as valuable goes, as far as value.
I don't agree with that. I don't look at a
Well,
woman
then why
that
wouldn't you recommend that women just fuck everybody that they see? I don't get it. There must be some value here in not doing that.
I think the consistency between not wanting younger women to date older men and not wanting women to sleep
Hang on,
around.
we're way off the age gap here.
I know,
So now
you
we're-
started this
so now we're-
by saying
go
how
ahead.
the two things seemed like contradictory, and I'm saying I think the consistency is that it's advising women against allowing themselves to be used by men.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm granting that this is true. That basically by doing this, right, you become a more valuable woman.
I don't think that's
You must.
implied
Well, then why wouldn't you recommend that women don't do this?
because I think when you allow people to use you, it is a sign of low self-esteem, and it can lead
Right.
to
And
even
so
worse
would
low
you say
self-esteem.
that makes you less valuable or more valuable?
I don't think it has anything to do with value.
It's not. So you don't think the opposite sex sees any value in this, even though you yourself seem to see value in this. In other words, if a woman is promiscuous, do you think that it's better if she's not promiscuous?
I think it's better if somebody is not promiscuous. Yes,
Then
but
men think the same thing.
that doesn't mean I think somebody is more valuable as a person because they
Yeah,
are
but I mean, the reason I'm
promiscuous.
using the word value, so that you understand, and equating these two things, and we can remove the word if it makes you more comfortable, value, is just because I think that men see a value in less promiscuous women. You also seem to see a value in less promiscuous women, right?
Are you speaking?
No, I don't see like a more value in them.
Okay, well then, I'm sorry, I just want to get this right. Do you think women should be less promiscuous or more
They
promiscuous?
should be less promiscuous.
Okay, so there must be some value in being less promiscuous.
I think the
Hang on, let her answer, please.
I think we're using value in two different ways.
Okay, how would you use it?
I guess one is like materializing something into worth better or worse, like hierarchy, putting something on a hierarchy of who is worth more than another person, and value in terms of like
Like,
inherent value.
I don't know, that's just restating value. So you're just saying value is value. That's not telling me what value is.
I think
So hang on, let her answer, please. So what is value?
I already said the value, so there's two ways to define it, and the first way would be kind of assigning it like this material value,
Mm-hmm.
and you're saying that somebody is worth more or less.
Yeah, okay, so what's the second way to define it?
I don't know. I don't have a good answer right now.
Well, I think we're getting stuck here. So I think you're trying to say, well, we shouldn't view humans as more or less valuable, but we're talking from a dating lens, from a dating context. So in terms of your value as a human being, we're all equal in value.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, for example, I would assume you would value one person over the other when it comes to who you choose to date. Otherwise, you would make no distinction in choosing one person over the other if they were both of equal perceived value in terms of their dating market value. Does that make sense?
Sure, yeah.
So for example, I don't know if you like men who are tall, who have their shit together, who have a job, who are gainfully employed, as compared to a guy who you're not physically attracted to, doesn't have his shit together, lives in his mother's basement. You would probably value that other guy, the guy number one, over guy number two when making a determination as to who you would partner with.
Sure, yeah.
And that one would be of more value. Perhaps you don't like the framing of it.
Yeah, I think it's probably more of that.
What's that?
It's probably more of that I don't like the framing of it.
Okay.
The implication that one person is
Let me
more
ask you a
valuable than
question. Would
another.
you rather, how tall are you?
5'7"?
Does height matter at all to you?
No,
Nothing. Okay. Would you rather date a man who's 6 foot or 5 foot?
I don't care.
You don't care?
I don't care.
Really?
I don't.
You're currently in a relationship, correct?
Yeah.
How tall is your boyfriend?
5'8".
He's 5'8". Okay. So you wouldn't
Would
have.
you rather date a man with a hunchback and a peg leg, or a man who didn't have a hunchback and a peg leg?
This is a fucking pirate? I don't know. She likes pirates. She might
Like,
like.
I mean,
pirates.
honestly,
fan of
would you
pirates.
prefer that if he looked like Quasimodo and he had like kind of Down syndrome and he had a big hump on his back and he had a peg leg, would you prefer to date him, or all things equal, they have the same attributes, him and a guy two, but guy two just looked normal? Which one would you prefer?
Yeah, I concede I would date the other one.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah, sure.
Wait, so, okay, I'm not going to actually I'm not going to grant this. You'd rather date a 5 foot guy over a 6 foot guy, all else being equal.
Why?
I
That's
won't
something
even,
I don't care
I won't
about.
even, you say that, but, so, let me ask you a question. Do you want children?
Yeah.
You want kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's advantageous in life to be tall? Does it confer benefits?
Sure.
Does it confer benefits to be physically attractive? Like ideally, wouldn't your children be better situated to maneuver through life if they were really physically attractive?
Sure.
Okay. So just on that basis of alone, let's say you don't give a fuck at all in terms of sexual desire or physical attractiveness. You don't actually care, right? But intellectually in your head, if I partner with somebody who's tall and physically attractive, my offspring, my children, have a better chance of themselves being physically attractive and tall, and that would confer onto them certain benefits throughout the course of their life. I want to set up my children as best as I possibly can. Would you not, assuming all else being equal, if the choice was between a 5-foot guy and a 6-foot guy, you wouldn't pick the 6-foot guy just purely on the basis that you would be more likely to have tall children?
Yeah, I think if I had a son and I chose the 5-foot tall dude, he'd be very upset to find out about my decision. So yeah, I would pick the 6-foot tall person.
Okay, so you would then prefer to date the 6-foot guy? No, now that I've walked you through the scenario.
If I have a choice, if I have to
Yeah,
make
let's
the
assume you
choice,
had the choice. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, all right.